What if your next career move has a huge ripple effect? I'm not talking about taking on a new job. I'm talking about the big decisions a lot of young professionals make in their 30s. And the ripple effect can last into their 40s and 50s, often without them knowing. Over the last 20 years in HR, I've read a lot of resumes and watched a lot of young professionals in their careers and coached a lot of young talent. Some took their careers to the next level, and some made choices that completely imploded their professional life. So I thought it would be a good idea to actually rank those decisions based on 5 criteria on a scale from S to F. Let me talk about the criteria first. I looked at job volatility, how much growth and learning and opportunities do I have on the job. People also consider their stress level in this job. Is it going up? Is it going down? Of course, the financial aspects matter a lot, more to some than to others, but it's important. And lastly, I looked at how much is that decision going to flex with your life. In your 30s, you might have a completely different situation than you end up in your 40s or 50s, whether this is family, whether this is career, whether this is where you live. So flexing with life can become really important criteria for how you look at that career decision years later. This is my tier list. It starts out with S, which is rocket fuel for your career. These decisions will absolutely catapult you for the long term and the short term into the next stratosphere. A is your future self will thank you. You will look back in 10, 20 years and thank your younger self that you've made these choices. These are distinct, they're rock solid, they're really great career decisions and pivots. Now B is still a good decision. You're taking on a little bit more risk because in these decisions you're betting on yourself. C tier is a little bit more tricky. This could go 50-50 whether somebody's going to end up in tears. And D has the inverse of what we talked about in A. Your future self will absolutely blame you, potentially, if you don't hedge. And lastly, F tier, which are decisions that tend to blow up your entire life. Let's talk about a choice that a lot of you are considering or already have taken and what comes with it. That's the decision to take what you know, your expertise, from a relatively anonymous and private sphere right now, where you're serving your company, to a more public space. You're posting content somewhere online, you're going on podcasts, you're more active on LinkedIn. There are lots of ways how people can take their private persona public. As the job market tightens and you're looking at different ways of maybe adding to your income streams, this is definitely a decision that will have a ripple effect for you long term and may not pay off professionally unless you hedge. Now, don't get me wrong, this worked for a lot of creators. Andrew Huberman was a little scientist in a stingy little lab somewhere until he started on YouTube giving his scientific talks, and now he's raking in the dough. You can come from all walks of life with any professional background and skill set and get a platform online. The downside, as you all know, is that you open yourself up to public criticism, and every troll is invited to critique your professional expertise. The other potential downside is that any future employer will definitely Google you and look what you have posted on social media because they are concerned about their brand. So you're taking a little bit of a risk, and that's why I'm placing your decision to going from private persona to public persona in the C tier. The next big decision is to follow your passion. Don't get me wrong, I respect the hell out of anybody who follows their passion. You're a creator, a writer, you're a musician, professional athlete. All these dreams that you carried from your teenage years into your 20s now become firm decisions, whether you want to hang on to this decision and still keep on driving that dream or whether you're pivoting. The reality is that the window for this dream is relatively small and it has a shelf life unless you also plan for a pivot into a plan B should that career of your passion not work out. The hard part is that very often your identity is wrapped around your passion as well because people have been reinforcing that. Even successful examples like a Tom Brady, who couldn't be more successful in his career as an athlete, now struggles in his 40s to reinvent his identity of being the successful athlete. So where does chasing the dream land you? Also in tier C. The next big decision is really part of our zeitgeist right now. There is a lot of pressure or admiration for people who go from employee to working for themselves. If you want to be a solopreneur, or you want to start a business with your friends, that's a great choice for somebody who has the drive and the resilience to take rejection and keep on failing. But the rewards and the upsides could be tremendous. This is particularly suitable for people who are just tired of taking orders from somebody else, set in one too many meetings that are pointless, and really want to take control. You guys want to have the control to be self-determinant and figure out things on your own. Reality is that most businesses fail within 5 years, but the upsides could be huge. And from an HR point of view, I highly recommend this move, that you make it in your 30s while you still have the drive, the endurance, the resilience, the energy to make these moves, because what you learn, even if you attempt to run your own business, and all the new skills that you have to learn and acquire in that process will be such a 10x factor that no MBA could ever compete with that. So even if you decide after a few years that you need to go back into full-time employment, or your life situation changed that you don't want to take on that kind of risk, you will still outpace salary-wise your colleagues and your peers, just because companies value what you've gained in that attempt to learn and drive a business. You will never look at business the same way. That's why I put that career choice in tier B. Great choice, a little bit of risk. I get asked a lot about my opinion on the next decision, which is, should you move to a center of excellence or not? Is it worth it? So if you're in finance and you really want to be at the forefront of what finance is, should you move to New York City? If you're into tech, should you move to Silicon Valley or Austin, Texas? If you're into a medical profession and you want to be considered best of the best, should you move to centers of healthcare in Minnesota or in Cleveland? The answer is absolutely yes, especially in your 30s while you still have time and you're flexible to do that. It's not that the perfect job will wait for you, but your chances that you will have friends that are in that circle of excellence, that you bump into people that offer opportunities, are just so much higher. If you want to be at the forefront of your expertise field, you should seek out the centers of excellence for that particular skill set. So moving is definitely a A-tier move. Now let's talk about a move that most people don't plan for or ever think they would be doing this, which is taking your professional career from a legal version to a highly criminal one. I've seen so much in HR, it blows my mind on a daily basis. I always think I've seen it all. I haven't. Nobody wakes up deciding they want to be a criminal. Plenty stumble into that kind of situation when they feel cornered. If I had not seen it in HR up close, I would have agreed with you that this is rare and the vast majority of people don't do anything illegal. While CNN covers the Theranos executives who get arrested or the crypto kings who end up in jail, this real action happens every day in cubicles across America. Workplace violence, fraud, theft, assault, murder, you name it. It happens at your company on a daily basis. Companies just protect their reputation so it's not public, but people get fired every day for criminal activities. It's not Wall Street wolves. It's Brad from IT selling customer data, and Karen from accounting cooking the books, and Tony cheating on his expense reports. Here's your psychological audit. If you catch yourself thinking, I really deserve this, they're completely underpaying me, other people are doing it, I've seen other people cheat, or my brother should be this vendor for this contract. Maybe you felt genuinely screwed over by your company. It doesn't take a lot to push somebody into fixing their guardrails to where this becomes okay. It starts with resentment, gets marinated in entitlement, and gets served with everyone is doing it. The most dangerous phrase is just this once. So your decision, and it is a decision, it's not something you just happen to fall into, is definitely landing you in F tier. This will not only blow up your professional life, people talk, it has ripple effects into your private life undoubtedly, and potentially ruin your career for decades to come. Needless to say, don't do it. Now, from the nuclear option to one that's completely underrated is the choice to go from a big multi-billion-dollar company with lots of employees to downscaling to a very small company, potentially a family-owned company. This is a move that's great for people who want to remember why they're actually going to work. It's not just a business, it's a relationship business. Everybody will know your name, everybody will know what you do. When your kid is sick, people will ask how your child is. And even though you're trading the fast track to CFO, because there are just not that many positions, it's probably more likely to be the happy human track. So if you're the kind of person that values relationship and stability and community, then you should definitely consider this move. Your salary will not increase at the same rate as you would if you keep jumping jobs or stay with large corporations. But the trade-off that this kind of environment will much better flex with different life situations that will undoubtedly hit you in this decade and your 40s and your 50s is invaluable. This is why I'm giving this decision to downsize the B tier. Now, what if you don't want to work at all? Lots of people make that decision that they need a break, especially after that long stretch of going to school, starting your first job, switching jobs, having a lot of changes. By the time people reach their mid-30s, they're burnt out. And they have different family situations. So they're rethinking a lot of what am I doing here? Taking a year off as a sabbatical, pursuing a side hustle and seeing if it has legs, to take time for parenting and actually be with your small children, that is an absolutely valid, important decision that you can make. I included a link in the description on a great tool I found online that actually calculates your financial impact long-term for the time you're taking off. So you enter your salary and how much time you want to take off, and it will calculate the long-term financial loss that you will have. Yes, your checking account and savings accounts will start crying. But if you're trading money for relationship building, for bonding, for clarity, for redirecting, this is the best time you will spend. I highly recommend it to anybody, especially in your 30s, to take a moment to recalibrate and think about, is this the kind of life I want to have? Because that hamster wheel keeps turning. And you will avoid regret. What if I had taken this opportunity to do my own business? Or what if I had gone to school? Or what if I had pursued this? Or now I have to reconnect with my kids and they're in their 20s and I'm not sure they still want to talk to me. So where does this land? A tier. This is an excellent choice. Definitely consider it. Now, from taking a career break, the next career decision is about whether you should switch from a for-profit company to a non-profit company and actually do something good and have positive impact on mankind. Very noble. Whether you decide to become a teacher or become a voice for people who don't have one, or join a government function, or simply use your skill set for a different organization. Instead of writing software and code for a greedy ass company, you decide you're better off writing that same code for a worthy cause. That takes real courage. Now, let's be honest here, your salary definitely takes a hit, not just now, but for the coming years. But money is not everything. And for people who make those choices, that's usually at the bottom of the list of things they care about is their compensation. From an HR perspective, I just see also the other side. These nonprofit jobs often have a much higher burnout rate. The mental stress on constantly being underfunded, of facing more volatility, whether you get a grant or you're not getting a grant, is huge on employees. You're never safe, you don't feel safe. So a lot of people drop out of these kind of careers because they're so disillusioned by the bureaucracy, the struggle, and very often the compensation is so low you cannot pay your bills unless you have a second income. So here's my suggestion as a pivot. Do the noble thing. Be the hero. We need more heroes. But you can't do it for for-profit companies. It's really heartbreaking that this noble path is often the one that breaks people the most. But here's the thing. You can absolutely do good and still have a life that you can afford and not have this constant struggle for survival. Companies like Patagonia prove that you can be a noble company with an admirable goal that pursues good causes and maybe in a different format, but still for profit. So the employees that work in there have stability and have real career opportunities for decades to come. Because it's so hard, I place this on D tier. The world needs idealists like you, definitely, but it needs you sustainably funded and mentally healthy. So think well about it. Okay, drumroll, let's get to the S tier level, a choice that a lot of you are offered and most of you decline, which absolutely kills me as an HR person because I know what this decision can do for you personally, professionally, short-term, long-term. There is nothing like it. And I'm talking accepting the challenge to become a leader. I'm not talking about accepting a manager role. Manager roles are glorified traffic cops and it's a bullshit job. Those jobs will go away anyways. I'm talking about real leadership, assuming responsibility for other people and what they produce and how they feel and how engaged they are and how they view you and the organization. That's leadership. Most people run from it. I know you see maybe leaders in your organization or in the past that you did not admire, that you thought were inauthentic or greedy or had some other fault. But let me assure you, there is a spectrum. There are 1,000 ways to be an amazing leader. There is not one way to be a leader. And it is a skill set, which means you can learn it. You don't wake up one day and you're this amazing, glorified person that people just say, yeah, I want to go where this person is going. Leadership is an absolute career forger. You have to be responsible when things go wrong. People look to you when they have questions. People trust that you take them in the right direction. Every insecurity you have will get exposed when people are looking at you. You're in the spotlight, you're it. It will also accelerate all kinds of skill sets. You can't communicate, you become a leader, you have to learn it real fast. You're avoiding confrontation. When you become a leader, you better get used to it because that will be your daily bread. And you're probably already a leader whether you realize it or not. Anytime your values get compromised or questioned, you have to make that little decision, will I stand up and say something or not? So very often, whether this is in church or whether this is with sports activities or your groups of friends, there are situations where you are asked to step up, to lead. These are these little micro situations where you can ask yourself, did I show up as who I am and want to be, or did I just conform? It doesn't matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert or what you think, what kind of leadership abilities you have. It is a skill set that develops over time, and with intention, people become great leaders. Nothing compounds success as much as stepping into a leadership role, and that's why this is deserving of the S tier. It builds character, commands respect, and creates legacy. And the upside is it helps your bank account as well. There is no better investment you can make in yourself than stepping into a leadership role. Now, after talking about all these different career moves, let me make something clear. Work is still just work. Work should never be the end-all be-all, but it is with you for the next 20, 30 years, and it's unpredictable. Be considerate when you make these decisions in your 30s, which is your decade of building foundations, because your future you will absolutely look back and either thank you or hate you. I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know if you disagree with any of my rankings, and I'll see you in the next video.